It's finally here. Hogwarts Legacy is out, and we're going to be discussing whether you should or shouldn't buy it, whether it's a game worth your time and money. Now, don't fear. This is going to be a completely spoiler-free discussion video. I will only be showing you footage from Hogwarts. It's from very, very early on in the game, and there's not going to be any mention of any story in this game at all. Anything that I consider to be a spoiler will not be included. Yes, this game is that good that I do not want to impede your impression or your experience in this game at all. So fear not, this is completely spoiler free. But why is this game worth your time? Let's get into it. So this is the game that we've all been dreaming of, just a game where you can explore Hogwarts, explore the secrets around it, and explore the land around Hogwarts. It's everything that we've all been dreaming of. It's just such a refreshing experience, and it feels like a game. I'll get into that in a little bit, but it just feels like a good old-fashioned fun game that doesn't try to sell you on bullshit mechanics. But before we get into that, let's start off with the performance. I was playing on the PS5, and so far in my time, I have not run into any bugs at all. That is so impressive to me, and it's such an outlier for today's standard in gaming. Now, I did have a friend who picked this up on PC, and he did say that some characters walk through you. There's been a couple of frame rate drops here and there. None of that has been experienced on my PS5, so I'm not sure whether that might be his computer. He does have a fairly powerful computer, or whether that might just mean that the game isn't as well optimized for PC players as it is for the consoles. Take that as you will, but for my experience on my PS5, there's been no bugs, no issues. There's hardly any pop-ins, especially that I've noticed at all. There's been just no glitches, no game-breaking errors, nothing. It's so good. Now, moving into the combat, my god, they have nailed the combat in this game. You have a mixture of spells, and the spells you kind of unlock as you progress through the story and attend classes. These spells can all be swapped out, and you do get different loadouts. You just need to unlock talents where you can have different loadouts. Otherwise, you get stuck with your little 4 spells, which is on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The amount of things you can do with the spells is insane. You can incapacitate someone, you can lift them into the air, you can crucio them, so torture them, you can set them on fire, you can throw things in the field and throw them at people. It's just the amount of things that you can do just with the combat alone is fantastic, and this is a system that they will be copying from years to come because they've just done such a good job with it. But the combat doesn't end there. There are other mechanics that feed into the combat, things that are so useful and purposeful that you actually want to engage in those side mechanics. So you get to do potion making eventually, and you also get to grow certain plants that will either become something that you use in combat or be turned into a potion. Now, the different potions have different effects. I won't go into them, but you can imagine that there's a lot of choice in how you want to use the potions and also plants in your combat. Some plants actually go out and attack for you. So there's a lot of combinations to be had when you're mixing your personal combat from your specific choice of spells and your wand, to then using the environment, to then using your potions, and then also using the plants to help you out as well. There is a lot going on, but it feels fantastic. They nailed it. Now, on top of all of that, because this is an RPG after all, your gear matters as well. So you can change out your hat, your glasses, your robes, all that sort of stuff, and it actually has an impact on your character's stats, whether you want to increase or decrease their defense, their attack, their health, etc. All these things you need to consider when building your perfect character. Now, on a side note as well, sometimes, like a lot of RPGs, you might get something that has great stats, but it might not look that flash. It just happens from time to time. Thankfully, in this game, it has that system where you can go ahead and assign the look of one piece of gear that you've unlocked, and then use the stats of another piece of gear that you've also unlocked. Or you can just decide to have that gear appear as invisible. So you still get the stat buffs from it, but it just looks like you're not wearing anything at all.
Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all.
The options when it comes to building a character, not only in the character creations, but also when assigning gear, is just way more detailed than what I thought. They didn't have to go this hard with it, but I'm just blown away. And that's kind of a sentiment that I have when I'm playing this game. I'm just blown away at how hard they went. And I had a pretty high expectations for this game, and it just took those, stomped on them, and just raised them through the roof. This game is phenomenal. Now, speaking of, this game really does have a focus on accessibility and inclusivity. So a lot of the characters, there's such a diverse range of characters in this game. Some even come from different countries, and they'll tell you about that in their stories. So it only adds to the richness and the lore of this game and the world that you're partaking in. On top of that, there's also different accessibility options through the menus. So if you have certain visual impairments or anything like that, this game will assist you in the ways that it can to ensure that you have the most fun while playing it. With regards to inclusivity and all that sort of stuff too, and the diversity, it doesn't feel forced at all. It's just, here are people. They're really well-rounded characters. The voice acting is fantastic as well. It's just such an inviting world that you just want to be a part of and get to know everyone's story. Even the side missions, the very, very small side missions are super interesting. They've done a great job. So the characters and all that sort of stuff aside, let's talk about Hogwarts. Hogwarts itself feels like its own character. And then as a further extension to that, the entire world map. Exploration in this game is just something you'll lose so many hours to. When I first started this game, it took me about an hour or an hour and a half just to get to my first class, because as I was walking there, I got lost, I got sidetracked, I found all these little secrets in the Hogwarts castle. There were students that I wanted to speak to, there was things that I was just trying out. And this is where the game really shines. It rewards inquisitive minds. There are certain things that you see in the world where you go, I can't do that yet. I don't have an ability to do that. So you remember, I'll have to come back and do that later. For an example, there are these chests that look at you when you walk into a room, but as soon as they see you, they lock up. So you go, there needs to be some way that I can approach this chest without it seeing me. And then you remember, hey, invisibility. Eventually you get an invisibility spell so you can sneak up to these chests. Not really a spoiler, they're just a side content, but things like that where the game really rewards your exploration. Another example is I was trying to find some collectibles and I did a certain spell and it highlighted a wall or a statue, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. So I go up to this statue, I press the square button and the whole wall shifts and there's a whole hidden corridor behind it. So I go down that and it takes me through this path that I would have otherwise missed because the wall itself looked pretty normal. And this just got me thinking, how much other things are there in this game? How many other things have I missed just because things look normal? And that just really feeds into the whole notion and idea of Hogwarts. There are secrets within secrets within secrets, and it's up to you to explore and try to find all of them. It's such a good system, and to sound just so cringy, it really has captured the magic of Hogwarts. It's so good. And this map is obviously huge. Okay, so Hogwarts itself is something that you can get lost in for hours. And then you zoom out of the map and you see that there's also a Hogsmeade map, which is also quite large in itself. And then you go to the world map and you see that Hogwarts and Hogsmeade is only a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of what the world map has to offer. And then it sets in that this game is bloody massive. It's absolutely huge. And this game is gonna ruin my life because I just want to explore everything. Now, there is no point in having such a large open world if the map is rubbish. And I'm so happy to say that the map is just full of things to do. There are mini missions in here. There are side missions. There's your main quest lines. There are people that you can speak to just to do certain tasks here and there for. There are also time trials and races for certain things. I'm not going to say what, but there is just a plethora of things to do. It's such a rich world. It's not like Breath of the Wild where it's just huge open fields, but most of the time there's just nothing to do. There is just very, very little time from you walking from one place to another before you get interrupted by a civilian or a goblin or a student or something where they can give you a mission, or they have some kind of interaction, or there's just something in the world that you can interact with yourself. There's just a lot of freedom that's given to the players from very, very early on in the game. Even at the start of the game when you're told, do this class, it's up to you to do that when you want. You can go and explore and go to the toughest area if you wanted to. The game just gives you that much freedom, and I just respect that so much. Again, it just rewards inquisitive minds. It favors and it just really emphasizes players to just go off the beaten path and explore, and you'll get heavily rewarded for doing so. And it's also just super refreshing that this is just an offline single player game. It just feels very, very tight, very well made, very well optimized. It's refreshing. It's not a walking simulator. It's not riddled with bugs. It's not unfinished. It's just, it works. You put it in, you play, it works. It's so good. I understand a lot of people wanted a multiplayer Harry Potter-esque game, and I do agree that that would be amazing, but that is far more complicated than just making a single player game. And with what we have here now, I'll take this any day. Any day. So that's a lot of positives. The combat feels great. There's a lot of mechanics that feed into everything else. Nothing's wasted. Everything feels purposeful. The world, the Hogwarts, the open map is just so rich and full of lore and inviting to explore, and you get rewarded by exploring. There are things with your mounts and you can get on your broom and the world feels fantastic to explore. It's all open world, hardly any loading screens, I think. I got one loading screen when I went through a door and there's a little icon that loads for about 3 seconds. Otherwise, you can go into any building that you want in Hogsmeade and it's all interactable. Is that even a word? You can interact with everything. But what are the negatives? Are there any negatives in this game at all? There are 3. Number 1 is for PC players. Those of you who pre-ordered on PC were told that you got early access as well. However, the early access started almost a day after console players did. And I feel like they kind of got shafted in that. You're paying a bit extra to get that digital deluxe version, that pre-order bonus of playing 3 days earlier, but you're really only getting about 2.5 days tops. Didn't really make much sense. Even when the preload started, you still couldn't play on PC. Apparently they're in the game now, so it's all good, but I just didn't like how the developers did that. The next one is no Quidditch, and this kills me because you see the Quidditch pitch right there and it looks amazing. You get your broom, there are time trials with your broom, and you have the Quidditch pitch right there, and they didn't do anything with it. They didn't do anything with it. I would not be surprised if there's a Quidditch DLC later on down the line. You know your boy is going to be paying for that. But it was a little bit frustrating with how just open and detailed this world is, and they just omitted to put in Quidditch. It just felt like a little bit of a misstep. It was like, okay, they gave us so much to do. It was like, was adding Quidditch that much extra? You could have probably done something with it, but no, the game starts off by telling you the whole Quidditch season for the year is cancelled because of some incident, and you're just kind of like, really? Like, you shouldn't have even just mentioned it at all. Like, it just sets up a pretty mediocre impression for the Quidditch side of it anyway at the very, very start of the game. Now, the last negative thing about this game isn't really about the game itself, and it's not at the fault of the developers. It's the audience that don't want you to enjoy this game at all. You know the people I'm talking about, their boycott failed miserably, and they're going ahead now and putting up websites to target streamers. They're making streamers cry, and they're just going in and just blatantly harassing people. When I streamed this the first time, within the first 5 to 10 minutes, I had some dickheads come in and try to start shit in my chat. It's just really, really petty. Just let people enjoy the games they want to play. Very, very petty behavior. Now, again, that's not a negative on the game itself. It's just might be a negative for you that I felt like I wanted to raise, because if you do plan on making videos about this or streaming this, you are gonna run into those comments. So that might be a perceived negative. For me, I really don't give a shit. I have a thick skin, so I don't really care. But hey, I just wanted to raise that just in case that might be a negative for you. But those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy in my play so far. It's been an incredible game. It's such a refreshing game, and it just elevates the standard as to what gaming should be. I know this is a big call and it's only February, but I think that this game really could be a contender, not a winner, a contender for Game of the Year. It really is that good. There are so many systems that I just haven't gone into yet or haven't shown you for spoiler reasons, but again, just take my word, this is a fantastic game. If you are into RPGs, this is the game for you. You will love it. It gets very, very deep if you allow it to. There is so much exploration out there as well. So many secrets, so many hidden paths, so much gear and loot to find. It's just overall a well-rounded, well-optimized game that was as promised, as expected, and just runs perfectly fine. That is very, very rare these days. But let me know in the comments down below, are you getting it? Have you got it already? If you have, what are your thoughts about it? What house did you pick? Are you gonna do multiple playthroughs? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Please do keep it spoiler free. at least for the first few days until the base version comes out, just so you don't impede on the experiences of the people who haven't played yet. Please keep it respectful down there as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you like the video, please go ahead, leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.